Hi everyone, I'm Jack and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing this Rutland's R80 half-inch router to allow you to decide whether it's the right tool for you. And for full transparency, Rutland's have sent me this router to review today, but that's not going to stop me being really honest about what I like and don't like about this particular tool. And trust me, there are a few things. So let's get right into it. So first up, let's talk about build quality out of the box. The first thing that I noticed is it is nice to see that there is quite a lot of metal on the bottom of this router. The bits that are really going to come in contact with your timber the most are going to be the most hard wearing. Most of what you can see at the top here is plastic, and there are a few what I would have to call defects on here. There is a stopper pole here, and on the top there's a bit of plastic that I'm pretty sure is meant to say 1mm to indicate that that's how much this will affect it upon one full rotation. However, you can see here that the actual plastic hasn't been formed quite properly, and it just doesn't say 1mm at all. But overall, I would say that the router itself does feel like a good quality tool. I do really like the soft grip handles, and it does feel very ergonomic. It's a really nice fit in the hand. The thing that is quite disappointing is that this doesn't come with a case. So all of the accessories that are included, which I've got here in my lovely plastic bag, are just going to have to be stored loose on a shelf somewhere. And you are just going to have to hope that you don't lose them, which is quite likely, I think, especially when you're talking about router accessories, which tend to be quite small. And if there's bits that you don't use that often, you might even forget that they go with this in the first place. So they end up being in a bits and bobs box as opposed to actually stored with the router. I wouldn't say this is a huge deal because it is available at such a low price. However, if you are someone that's going to be putting this on your van and driving about, you might want to factor this into your decision. The other thing that would have been a little bit nicer to see is a slightly longer cable. I'm going to get a tape measure. The cable length here is 1.8 meters. So if you're someone that's using this in a workshop that's right next to a plug socket, that's not going to be an issue. However, if you're using this in your garden like I am about to now, then you're going to want to get into the habit of using this with an extension lead. In terms of features, this router does actually come with quite a lot of accessories and points that are worth pointing out.
What did he say?
Firstly, this is actually very powerful for a cheap router. If you have this set to its maximum speed, you are going to get 2200 rotations per minute, which makes this a very competitive router for the price point. If you compare that to some of the higher end routers like DeWalt, they tend to go up to about 2800. So you are losing out on a little bit of power, but you do need to factor in that those routers are going to cost you 3 or 4 times as much as this one. And bear in mind that this router is often on sale, and there is an affiliate link in the description below if you want to check what the current pricing is. This is also a plunge router, so you can just turn it around and there is a switch here that can be easily flicked up, which allows you to plunge this into your workpiece. It has got that variable speed setting at the top, which has got settings from 1 to 6. 1 is going to give you 9,000 rotations per minute, and if you have it at 6, you're going to get the full 22,000 rotations per minute. And it's got soft start, so when you fire this up, it's not going to jar you and be really powerful straight away. It is going to slowly work its way up to its full speed over about 2 to 3 seconds. And you can make very fine adjustments to how far this is going to allow you to plunge it down using this stopper pole. It's also got these 3 stopper blocks here that can be adjusted as well, just so you can quickly switch between 3 different settings. In terms of accessories, you are going to get included this straight guide that allows doing things like cutting a juice groove in a chopping board to be a pretty effortless thing to do. In order to attach this straight guide to the router, you can just twist these little clamp bolts here, and this will allow you to pull out this sort of clamp mechanism at the bottom of the router. Then this straight guide just locks into this screw at the end here, which can then be easily tightened up. Once that's tightened up, you just want to make sure that you again tighten down these 2 bolts so that this isn't going to move, and then you're ready to use it. So you can see that I've got a lovely straight line there with that router bit. You're also going to get this, which is a trimmer guide. This trimmer guide works in a very similar way. So I'll just remove my straight guide. I'll attach the trimmer guide here by tightening up that bolt. And this trimmer guide will allow you to go around curves like the corner of this bench here, whilst the roller keeps you a nice equal distance away. Now I'm not actually going to route it because I like my bench and I don't want to put a router mark in it. but that does indicate nicely how that would work. You get an included wrench for actually changing the router bits that you have in your router. In order to actually change the router bit itself, you can do that by just holding in this locking button here and then turning the router bit accordingly with the included wrench. And then you just push in your new router bit and do the same thing to tighten it up. You've got this dust extraction bit. In order to attach the dust extraction adapter, you are going to first need to remove the splinter guard. And that's pretty straightforward to do. You just turn it around and unscrew this little screw that's attaching this in. And that allows you to remove the splinter guard. You can then grab the dust extraction adapter and then use that same screw just to fix this in place. And I've got to say that the dust extraction adapter actually did a really good job at keeping all of that dust to a minimum. You do still get some little bits flaking off, but this is pretty normal for the majority of routers I have ever used. You also get this template guide included. You also get this 1/4 inch adapter that can be swapped out for the adapter that actually comes in, which means you can use this router with 1/4 inch router bits. And you also get 2 spare brushes that can be used to replace the brushes within the router should you ever need to do that. With all of that being said, now it's time to talk about the things I particularly like and dislike about this particular tool. So starting us off, things that I really like. Well, firstly, I love that this is available at such an affordable price. This really is within everyone's budget. I really like the overall power that this router offers. If you have it on its highest setting, you are going to get 2200 rotations per minute, which is fantastic. I do like as well the ergonomic feel that it's got in your hand when you're using it and how straightforward it is to finely tune the depth of your plunge. I really like that it's got a dead man switch on it, meaning that when you let go, it will automatically switch itself off. And probably the best thing about this is for that low price, you are getting a lot of included accessories, including that 1/2 inch router bit adapter, which means you can use this with smaller router bits if that's all that you've got. As for areas which I think could definitely be improved, well, firstly has got to be the lack of a case that comes with this router, or the fact that you can't actually buy one separately for additional costs. I've had to use this plastic bag, which firstly looks ridiculous, but it also means that if you're using this outside, there's a good chance that that's going to blow away. Another bag! It's also a shame to see poor finishes on things like this fine-tune adjuster here, where it should have said 1mm, but in the reality it's just not worked and it's just a blob of plastic on the top. And with all of that being said, now it's time for that big question. Do I think that the Rutland's R80 1/2 inch router is worth the money? Well, I'm going to say, given its overall build quality and very affordable price, that if you are a new woodworker looking to buy your first router, then this is definitely a very good option for you to consider. But that is just my opinion. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Consider subscribing, and if this is your first router, then you're going to want to make sure you avoid these 7 common mistakes that every new woodworker makes. And you can do that by watching this video next. Until next time, happy building.